If you were a teenager in the 80s, you didn't just know the face, you probably had it tacked to your bedroom wall. Ali Brahe-Daddo was the quintessential Aussie girl. A regular on the covers of Dolly, Cleo and Cosmo, she was the idealised image an entire generation looked up to. But the experience for Ali was very different. A shy, uncertain kid who grew up feeling invisible. She found Australia's adulation triggered almost unbearable anxiety. Today, we're so grateful to Ali for sharing her childhood story, as well as her mission to discover an authentic self that goes far beyond the cover page. Nick, wasn't it great to have such a heartfelt chat with Ali?
Yep, I was really moved by this one. We've got a warm, insightful, just wonderful guest. Now, we knew we were going to get a wonderful guest because we'd spoken with Ali once before. We were interviewed on her podcast that she runs with her husband, The Heart of It. And in that chat, we got an insight into Ali's life story just a little bit because she shared a childhood letter of her own on that podcast.
Yeah, we didn't quite know what we were in for, but as it turns out, it was this profound letter. And I think we both came away from that really moved and, looking forward to the opportunity to invite Ali to speak with us today. And yes, of course, that conversation was with Cameron, her very famous husband. They've done a lot of work together and people may know them as an Australian power couple.
Yeah, so a public-facing couple, but what people might not know is that there was actually a big gap for Ali in the middle. So she was very well known as a teenager, as a model. They moved to LA, and then for about 25 years they lived there. Ali wasn't in the spotlight. In that time, she became an educator. She was trained at UCLA. She trained in the Rudolf Steiner stream. She also helped people as a doula, training people to prepare for birth. Worked with a lot of charities and just did some amazing work over there, as well as becoming a mother, her lifelong ambition. Yeah. So she's got a beautifully big family.
She does. And also now doing some incredible work in the menopause space and is this great inspiration, I think, to many people and has written a book on the topic.
Yeah, Queen Menopause, finding Majesty in the Mayhem.
Yeah, and it's just really striking how authentic she is and her willingness to kind of get into the messy details of what it is to be going through menopause and going through challenges in your marriage. It takes a lot to be vulnerable and honest like that in the public sphere.
Yeah, so she addresses those things, but it's so empowering, uplifting. She's got a very hopeful and positive spin on things.
She does, and she brought that to us today. So we're really looking forward to sharing this episode. But we should mention this is a slightly unique one for us, Nick. We've branched out into a different kind of episode.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, this is our first remote recording.
It is.
So you might hear some audio differences, but look, she was just a guest that we were so thrilled to work with. She couldn't make it to Melbourne. So we're expanding online interviews.
It was a great opportunity, and let's get into it now. You're a Good Kid is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and is supported by Engage One-on-One Psychology, helping people engage with life. This podcast discusses mental health-related themes that may be triggering for some listeners. If anything in the episode causes distress, please contact your health professional, or if urgent, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. My name is James Van Kuylenberg. I'm a clinical psychologist, and together with my brother Nick, we're going to hear stories from a diverse range of people about how their childhoods have shaped them. Our guests are invited to share a photo of themselves as kids, which you can see by following the link in the show notes. And at the end of each episode, you'll hear them read a letter to their child selves. If you could say anything to your child self, what would you say? Welcome to You're a Good Kid. Ali Brahe-Daddo was born in 1969 and spent most of her growing up years in St Ives, a leafy suburb on Sydney's Upper North Shore. Her family home sat right at the entrance to the Ku-ring-gai Wildflower Garden, and Ali has vivid early memories of wandering through this national park completely alone without her parents ever knowing where she was. At home, she lived with her mum and dad and two older sisters, who were 5 and 7 years older than her.
So my oldest sister is the typical older sister in the sense that she is the organizer, she's the list maker, and she's absolutely fabulous. And then my middle sister, we were really good mates growing up, and she's the funny one. She's got a great sense of humor, and I don't know who's quirkier, me or her. Probably me. I think I always felt like the black sheep of the family because I'm like the painter, the knitter, the drawer, sort of that whole side of things, and no one else is like that in my family.
Ali's dad was a magistrate who worked very long hours, and as was typical for the time, Ali's mother was predominantly a stay-at-home mum. Her parents divorced when she was just 5 years old, but decided to stay living in the same house until Ali was 16. This, she recalls, created a very unhappy household for everyone involved, which became even more complicated when her mum repartnered while they were all still living together.
Incredibly complicated. Yeah, it was very complicated. Not for my mum, but yeah, for Dad, that was a major heartbreak that was very challenging for him. Yeah. You know, as we get older in hindsight and understand exactly what was really happening in the home and understanding repercussions of living in a home that had its challenges, I would say there was a lot of silence. Being the youngest, I did not know what was going, other than Mum and Dad did not like each other anymore, and they were in separate bedrooms.
Outside the home, Ali's main loves were ballet and netball, and she also loved art at school. Then at 16, her life changed forever. When the opportunity arose, she dropped out of school halfway through year 11 to pursue modelling, and very quickly she was featured on the covers of the biggest magazines and was being flown around the world. While this sudden rise to fame brought new opportunities, it didn't heal the unhappy dynamic in her home or her childhood wounds, and it also presented Ali with many friendship challenges too.
It was challenging, I think, for the girls around me a little bit to be my friend. I think that was a little hard. Felt like there was a real significant drop-off in my friendships with my girlfriends at that time, and that whole concept stayed with me for a long time. That it was better to, like, I sort of learnt, downplay yourself as much as possible throughout your life in order to maintain friendships, because you don't want to get too big or too whatever, because people don't like you for that. So that one stayed with me well and truly.
Ali Daddo, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's absolutely fantastic to have you here. It's a reunion of sorts. You were very kind to have us on your podcast with Cam at the heart of it not too long ago. That was a fantastic experience.
Oh, we loved having the both of you on. We talked about both of you for a long time afterwards after having you as guests.
Oh, that's kind.
Yeah, we loved it. It was really meaningful. And I don't want to say you surprised us because we knew you'd be good, but when we asked you to consider doing the letter, it blew us away, actually. For those listening who don't realize this, Ali had a go at reading a letter to her younger self on the episode, and it was poignant and profound. We didn't really have time to get into it, but it was lovely. How did you find that experience?
Oof. Yeah, it was one of those ones where it was kind of those experience where I go, oh my God, what am I going to write? I'm struggling. And then once it clicked, I knew exactly what I wanted to write. And it just was a very easy flow from there. And yeah, it's a letter that I've definitely kept and will keep. And it was twofold in a sense that it was very meaningful to me from the little girl that I was, but also incredibly meaningful to me as a mum, knowing that I had flipped that script and done exactly what I needed. I was given and gave to my kids. So it was kind of this bittersweet moment too.
Well, it left a big impression on both of us. And just made us feel that you'd be the perfect guest because, you're so warm and so open, and that letter had an impact. I've since then, and in doing research for today, been reading Queen Menopause, and of course I learned that you've written many letters to your younger self. I heard a letter to your 20-year-old self, I believe, to your kids, your husband, your uterus, and I think my favorite was your letter to your cellulite. Maybe your short one. I don't know if you want to reread that for us now, but that hit me.
Yeah, I think the F-bomb was part of that,
it
right?
Was, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're very well versed in writing letters, and we're thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks.
My sister is also very excited that we're talking to you. So she's a little older than me. She's 7 years older.
Our sister?
Our sister, not just yours. Not just mine. Yeah. You claim her as well?
I do claim her as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
That's nice.
She's nice. Beautiful human, but she was peak teenage, years when Dolly was at its highest. And so when we spoke about you coming in, she said, oh my God, I idolize her. So she's going to be really excited to hear this episode.
That's so sweet.
And to connect with her younger self through that as well, I think.
Well, it's such a beautiful experience when I connect with women of my ilk, because we all have this shared experience of Dolly magazine, and all of us think back to that time in such a beautiful way. And to be part of that memory for women, I don't take that for granted, because I had the same experience with Dolly magazine. It was these incredible pictures of girls my age in cool clothing that I could try to emulate, and plus all this information. And so it was simpler days, that's for sure. I think that was often what we lament a little bit now.
And that became a significant part of your life when you were about 15, is that right?
16, I started modeling. Yeah.
And the trajectory from there, was it quite fast for you in terms of how it all took off?
Look, I think in some ways, yes. The first thing I kind of almost did was just go to Japan. That was what first got me modeling, was like, I did a couple of catalogs and they said, do you want to travel to Japan? And so I said yes to that, which was a huge experience as a 16-year-old, far too young to be in a foreign country on my own. But then it was sort of, things were building after that. When I came home, I spent some time in the UK. That was also building. And then, around, I think 18, 19 was fairly peak time, I think, around there. So
was that the point when you sort of realized life's not going to be the same? I'm not going to go back to that simple life again? Or how did you think about it?
Yeah, I think I had such a different view, I think, of modeling that a lot of people assume that I had. Like, not a lot changed for me. I was still, I still lived in my home a lot of the time. I didn't have model, photographer, makeup artist friends. But I guess the first famous person I kind of met was my husband. He was literally the first famous person. And then then I understand it became something else altogether. We're at 20. But honestly, it felt like I was still very naive and kind of stumbling from one thing into the next a lot of the time.
Well, of course, a lot of Australia was very aware of you around that time. But on theme for what we do here, we'd love to go back earlier and hear a little bit about the younger years and what it was like in your home. We understand that you brought a couple of photos with you. Perhaps you might be able to share one or two of those and take us back to some younger moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let me pull this up on my phone. So this is I love this photograph of me. So I'm at a wedding, and I reckon I'm about 4 or 5 there. So, my memory is not amazing of my younger years, but I think to me there's a lot in my eyes there to me. There's a lot going on.
Can you describe the photo for our listeners who haven't seen it?
Yeah, good point. Of course, it's a black and white. I'm in this little flower dress because I'm at my aunt and uncle's wedding. And I'm not smiling hugely. I've got a little smile on my face. I've got my enormous head of hair, which I had from a young age. But whether or not I'm projecting what I know about myself at that age, or it really is there. But my eyes have just kind of got this depth of sort of looking out at the world, like, am I okay? Kind of look to me. So I just love that little kid in that picture.
That's beautiful.
She's very, very dear to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about what was going on for you in your home around that time. What was life like?
Yeah, look, I think like anyone whose family went through a divorce, it's being so little.
Mm.
And it was a very challenging divorce for my mum and dad. So what, that was 1974. Like, who knew to sit down and talk to your kids about what was really happening? I think
Mm.
they just got on with life and went about what the best that they could. But I knew that my dad was hurting. My mum was not in the house a lot. My two older sisters were a lot more social. So there was a lot of alone time for me as a little kid. And I know that my invisibility issues begun from a very early age,
Mm.
where I tend to feel invisible, whether it's in social situations or in relationships, where that's something that comes up, where I don't feel like I'm heard or seen, or
Yeah, right.
and I think that's what I see in that little
So in
girl there.
relation to mum and dad, how did that invisibility feeling present itself? Was it just that feeling of a lack of the kind of attention you might have wanted, or like what do you think gave you that feeling with them?
Yeah, I think, dad was in a lot of pain. So he was dealing with that and didn't have, I guess, the bandwidth to be looking after a 4 or 5 year old. And mum was, I think she felt, I don't really know, like, I guess she felt she'd escaped a relationship she didn't want to be in. So she was on her own trajectory. I know that, I mean, they make a joke of it, but I was the accident baby. So they had only really wanted the two older kids. And there is a fairly, it's a big age gap, a little,
Mm.
in the scheme of things. So I think that's what sort of happened. I sort of slipped through the cracks a fair bit. And yeah, unless I was with my grandparents, and then I was the apple of their eye. So
If you were to think back to the times that you were alone, how did you spend that time? How were you self-soothing? What were you drawn to in isolation?
That's a good question. I used to draw all the time, and that I just would draw. And it was a therapy for me, I think, as well. But I have so many memories of sitting at the dining room table, just drawing for hours and hours and hours. And I loved it. I loved it. But that was a lot of what I was doing.
Mm. So a couple of concepts there. One, that idea that you were the accident baby. How early do you remember feeling like that was true, or being told that? How old would you have been?
Um, yeah, I can't remember the first time it was said to me. I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like I've known for a really long
Mm.
time. I mean, my mum says it's the best accident, that she ever had. But I do remember, when it was, oh, yeah, you were the accident, you were the accident. It's sort of like, it's a funny feeling to feel like, oh, so I wasn't exactly wanted or planned
Yes.
for. And so there's an element to that kind of hits you in
Mm.
a insecure sort of, again, that whole place. Am I wanted? Am I
Mm-hmm.
loved? Am
Mm-hmm.
I the invisibility? All of that kind of
Yep.
place.
Yep. From a
Mm.
building blocks of your self-worth and identity, it's just
Yes.
another layer of
Yeah.
challenge to add to that. But in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
mum and dad and their separation and what you probably did and didn't understand at the time, the decision to stay together, as in stay in the same home. I work with a lot of parents who are separating who have that instinct that maybe this would be better. Can you tell us a bit about what you've learned, now to understand why they did that? What was their thinking around that?
Mm. That was really my dad. My dad never wanted his kids to have to choose which parent they were going to live with.
Mm.
And he didn't want a week on, week off. He didn't want that experience. He wanted us to stay, unfortunately, much to his distress, to stay under the one roof. Do I think it was a good idea? No. We would have been better off going house to house with happy parents. So I don't, unless you can make that work in a way where if the two parents are divorced and they're really good mates and can stay in the same house, I wouldn't ever recommend that.
So do you recall a bit of conflict then?
The conflict was not talking to each other. There was years that I feel like I don't remember my mum or dad saying a word to each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that must have created quite a lonely feeling, I'd imagine, in the house.
Yeah. And we all sort of, it's funny how kids, as you would know, kids are so smart, and you work out pretty quick what you can and can't ask for, and what you need to do. So the three girls, because the three of us, we all just also went our separate ways at the same time. We didn't collude together. Everyone just was sort of on their own lifeboat in the house and did whatever they needed to do to get through.
So in that stillness and silence, and when you're doing your drawing and, you are, I guess, figuring it out on your own, what's the story that you were telling yourself about what it meant to be in a home that was relatively silent and where you felt a bit invisible?
Gosh, I don't remember ever thinking, oh, I feel invisible at that age. I don't remember having that thought. I think I just I know I really missed my mum. I think that was a big overlay for me of a feeling of wanting to spend time with her and not feeling like I ever had enough time with her. Yeah.
Was the time you had with her affectionate? Was there warmth when you had that time with her?
Affectionate? No, there wasn't affection. For years, for many, many, many years, the word I love you was never spoken in the house. There was no terms of endearment or that kind of language. There is now, which is really lovely. But yeah, there wasn't any affection or, and my mum's not a mean person or a cold person even, but perhaps I could describe her as somewhat emotionally distant person, I think is probably the way I'd describe her. Yeah.
And what about from Dad? Was he affectionate?
Dad, no, Dad. Yeah, that was a lot of struggle for Dad to manage his feelings amongst the divorce, and it really rocked and tore him apart. So he was just attempting to manage his feelings throughout that.
Yeah, that sounds really difficult. So what about things like family holidays or, going away together, anything like that, or quality time even, just shared meals? How did that work?
I remember one holiday when I was 4, when the 5 of us went away. That was the only holiday. That was the last family holiday. After that, it was Dad took the 3 girls skiing, and Dad took us to Hawaii in our teens. There were no family dinners at the table. That was mum in front of the TV, and sometimes Dad would join or sometimes not, even though they weren't speaking to each other. But we didn't have family meals at the table.
And you said it was complicated when Mum repartnered, and of course it was, and this is one of the things that obviously couples need to reconcile with when they have this idea that maybe we'll stay in the same house. It's like it becomes almost impossible at that point. What was that like for all of you?
He was a lovely fellow too. He was very different to my dad, and he wanted to be my friend, I could tell. But I remember as a kid feeling, do I talk to this man? I've got my dad and he's upset. And so I remember being super confused about what I should and shouldn't do with him as a person. Am I allowed to smile, talk, have fun with him, go out with my mum and him? Like, there was a lot of confusing feelings around that.
a lot that probably could have been helped just with some open, honest conversations with mum if she'd been capable of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because you come across as someone who's so emotionally intelligent and warm and connected. Were you that person when you were younger?
Look, there's things that I remember really well about, even as a little kid, knowing I will never raise my kids like this, and it's reflected in the letter that I remember even saying, I can't wait to be a mum because I want to show up for every single ballet recital and netball game. And like, I remember even back then, I kind of knew that what I sort of needed in a way and what I wanted to give at the same time. But it's taken me, there's a lot that came from that, in the sense of I leaned heavily into being a nice girl and wanting to like do the right thing by people. And if I could make you happy, then you would like me and I would feel safe. So that's kind of what happened from the childhood experience. My life became about, are you okay? Is this okay? Am I okay with you? Do you need me to change? Do you need me to do something different so you like me? So there was a lot of that experience that I had to work through.
It's so understandable.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how those kind of people-pleasing tendencies played out socially for you as well. It can be very difficult for children if they haven't had great examples of relating.
Yeah, I think I still struggle with this today, is trusting that someone actually likes me for me. Like, that comes up a lot where I'm like, I don't know if there's something I've done wrong. Like, that question I would always ask, did I do something wrong? Was it me? And I'm always scanning the area to like what's the mood in the room? What's the mood with this person? So yeah, socially it was difficult. And I always looked for sort of one person that I could hold really close. And those breakups and those kind of friendships were just devastating for me, devastating. So had a lot of like feeling lonely, a lot of loneliness as well. I can remember spending years feeling lonely, so and yeah, just not trusting that I was liked for just being me. I had to always felt like I had to do something to be liked.
What about your sisters? Were they a source of comfort?
It's funny. My sisters are gorgeous people, and I will say this and no one can believe it. We have not, I'm 56. My eldest sister is, what is she? She's 62 now, 63. We've never talked about our childhood.
Wow.
Really?
Nope.
And why not?
Never. I think we're still in the holding pattern of the lifeboats. It wasn't encouraged. And I feel like we all suffered in our own ways. I know that for sure. And I just don't know if anyone wants to open that book and dive in there. I would, but I don't know if my sisters want to. Like, when I've sort of tried to sort of step in a little bit and kind of, hey, there's gonna no. So I think they just don't want to talk
fair
about
enough.
it.
And of course you have to respect that if that's what they're telling you. But it's just so interesting because, again, you are so open and obviously have such a heart to share this stuff. It seems like there could be some pretty profound convos that could happen.
I think so too, because I would love to know what their experience of childhood was like as well, because I can only kind of guess, at the different levels of understanding what was happening at home, how that impacted them. So, yeah, I mean, there's still time. So we'll see.
Do you have other photos you'd like to share that might be a springboard?
I mean, I've got a topless photograph of me. Do you want to see that one?
No, thank you.
I'm going to show it to you anyway.
Okay.
I actually really, really love this photo. I've just made this my phone screen because I can kind of see the little model there.
Yes.
And
Sorry, Ali, I have to interrupt once again. After that introduction, you're going to have to describe this photo for our listeners very quickly so they know the age and the context. Because right now they think we're looking at a topless photo, and you
I'm
need to fill the gaps.
21. I reckon I am maybe 2.5, 3. And I'm very much, I'm at the beach with just my bathing suit bottoms on, and I'm holding onto a flagpole, and there's the ocean behind me, and the hair's, the wind's blowing my hair, and I'm sort of got this very cute pose happening, which I think I pulled that pose as a model in my modeling days.
Recreated the shot.
I think so. But I just, there's a lot of joy in that photograph, and I love that picture.
Yeah, that's great. So you're drawn to these moments of joy, or where you can see that kind of innocence expressed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's lovely. So I think what I wanted to ask was, you had to figure out a lot of stuff on your own because you weren't being told, you weren't being instructed, okay, this is what's happening and this is an understandable response, or this is what you can expect. You were figuring out that on your own. Did that end up making you quite an independent young person?
Yes, but to my detriment. Just asking for help is something that is it doesn't even cross my mind. I just think I've got to do this on my own. And so I've had to really work on that. And, the amount of times my husband or a friend's gone, Ali, I would have helped you with that. I'm like, oh, right. So yes, very much an independent person.
So, and also just figuring out sort of the rules of life, I guess you would have been a little vulnerable to getting hurt because you didn't feel like you had that info. No one had kind of told you. Yeah. Do you think that led to more heartbreak as a result?
Oh, 100%. Like, I went from one relationship into the next where I was always on the receiving end of being left, being broken up with, being cheated on. Just a series of those relationships that were just, were never, I somehow sought out the same relationship over and over and over again, where I was the invisible person and I was the caretaker of the other person, and I was like, how can I meld myself to make you like me?
So always putting others' needs before your own.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you can think back then, what are the needs that were going unmet? Because clearly your emotional intelligence is growing through this stage. You're scanning, you're understanding what everyone wants from you. But what do you feel was missing? What were you craving?
To feel important and to want to know what my experience is of, or was, of anything that I was experiencing as a kid, to want to know how my day at school was, or, did you like the movie that you just watched, or to feel, to feel that I was worthy and worthwhile of spending time with, and wanting to know about what's really ticking inside.
Yeah, that's sad to hear that you were missing out on that stuff. But of course, now you've made your mission as a parent to ensure that your kids don't feel that way, which is lovely.
Yeah.
But did it create a rich inner world? That there wasn't a lot of dialogue going on, a lot of time to yourself. Were you a creative person internally and trying to make sense of all this?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I mean, I was a constant book reader. That was something I loved and still love to do. And I never did not have a book. And that was a real escapism for me to dive into a book. I used to do this thing, I haven't done it in a while, but I used to do this thing where if I would see an animal, like it was often a bird, I would place myself inside that bird and fly away. I used to do that a lot, like daydream that. But yeah, I can't. That's probably about, yeah, that's it. I don't know if I had a rich inner world other than that.
Oh, that's an evocative image. Did you ever draw or paint that image?
No, I haven't drawn or painted that one actually. Yeah,
interesting.
no.
Yeah, that's quite a powerful one. So in terms of the evolution of your career that took off when you were 16, how did that change or alter? I know you said it didn't change you so much in terms of your living situation or perhaps how you thought about yourself, but suddenly you have an increasing social profile. More and more people know who you are. That has to have an impact. What does that do to your developing self?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah, I found that really, really challenging. And again, it's one of those things I still find really challenging. At the age that I was at, with the insecurities that I already had, there were times where, the gangs of girls would spot me from across the road and I'd be yelled at that, you think you're a hot shit and you're not that pretty. And those things would just terrify me and would make me want to just hide at home and not be in the industry anymore. So, having said all that, look, there were some amazing times as well. There was travel, there was excitement, there was doors opened just because I was, a model. But it was for a people pleaser, insecure kid, it was actually kind of alarming to be in the public eye.
And so it didn't tick those boxes. The visibility, the affirmation.
No.
Didn't fill those holes.
It was anxiety provoking.
No. Yes, exactly. Did the opposite. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did it cause any fusion of body image and self-worth in an unhelpful way?
Well, I actually didn't. I mean, at some point, I had the idea that I didn't like the way I looked and I didn't like my body image. I was always exceptionally thin, no matter how much I ate or what I did. And so there was always you're anorexic thrown about and, that sort of thing, which was never, ever, ever the case. I never had an eating disorder.
So, sorry, what age did you start to not like what you looked like?
I think that was around, oh gosh, probably 10 or 11. So well before modeling. Yeah.
And when modeling took off, I know you're saying that it caused you anxiety, but was there any, I guess, settling of that idea to go, oh, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought I was or anything like that? That internal narrative, was it challenged?
Yeah, I could look at photographs of myself and go, I like that photograph. That's a really pretty photo. But it didn't kind of shift the internal, it was, still feel a bit yuck and gross and like somehow this is just a facade and the real me underneath there is really not that pretty. So there was still that kind of struggle going on.
Can you speak to the social messaging of the time as well, particularly for young girls? Like what were you absorbing from the culture?
I think I was around when the heroin chic thing went and Kate Moss was the #1 model in the world. But it often breaks my heart. I cannot, and I know women say this to me as a compliment, but when women say to me, I just wanted to be you when I was younger, I just would have loved to have looked like you, it really breaks my heart because I wanted to be somebody else. I wanted to look like someone else and they're wanting to look like me. And so I know what that's like, the fact that you look in the mirror and you go, I don't like what I don't like me. I want to look like her. It hurts when women say that. And like I said, I know they're saying it as a compliment, but and I was I know I was held up as this, the all Australian, beach model type thing when there were so many different colors of skin and colors of hair and eye color that are very Australian as well. And, you know, it was in that time that it was like, yeah, the blonde beach girl is what is the hot thing. And that's the true blue Aussie. And it's like, I remember having this gorgeous, she was part Egyptian, part Greek. And she goes, oh, she said, I just wanted to look more Australian when I saw pictures of you. And I'm like, oh no. And she is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah.
That's a fascinating insight.
It is.
Reflection. I also would love to go back a little bit now. I'm wondering how your family responded to the success. Of course, now you're getting social admiration. Did that change the way they related to you? Did you feel more affirmed when they saw you kind of through the public eyes?
It didn't change anything with my sisters or at home. It was very much kept it quiet. I didn't sort of ever bring home magazines and show them to my mum and dad ever. Yeah, it wasn't anything that was kind of really discussed or celebrated.
Why is that?
Yeah,
because I could imagine you probably wanting them to feel proud of you or wanting that recognition, but perhaps you just normalized that you weren't going to get that or something?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I don't think any of us, the three of us, really sort of knew that there was a place to be able to have that at home. So we just kept that to ourselves and just kept going, just moved on, pocketed it and kept going.
Yeah. So where did that validation then sit? Because that's in stark contrast to what's happening at home, where you're still feeling invisible, even though you've got this incredibly strong public image, which is quite a striking contrast. How did that feel? How did that sit with you?
It felt completely normal, to be honest. Just absolutely normal. Yeah, I do remember, you know, times when I wished I had probably a bit of, oh, Ali, look at this. I bought this magazine with you on the cover and you look so beautiful. I remember wanting that sometimes, but it was just something I intrinsically knew not to celebrate somehow and not to bring home. And yeah, and then once I'd moved out, it was even less of a thing.
So self-worth can be an elusive thing, you know, when you've grown up in a home without demonstrative love or being told you're great or, you know, just being nurtured and nourished in that way. When did it start to happen for you? You know, at what point did you feel like your self-worth started to become more healthy and you became your, I might say, true self?
Gosh, still working on it. Still working on it. You know, I've had glimpses of it for sure, in and out through my life. I do, the greatest joy I've ever had is raising 3 kids, and knowing that I'm sort of changing, you know, familial patterns in a way makes me really proud of myself. And things like seeing my kids be best friends with each other makes me really proud. And knowing that, like, okay, I've done some, this is good. You're good. And then as I've gotten older, like the book was a really a huge point of pride for me as well, getting that published and knowing that it helped a lot of women was really something. So it's, as the later in life I get, the easier it's becoming to feel like that there's self-worth and value for sure.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, one of the observations that's very clear to me is your desire for authenticity in whatever you do, and the messiness. You're willing to talk about the messy things to try and create, as far as I can tell, the most real picture of what you're going through and what the journey's like as you can. Is that important to you?
Well, I feel like everyone's got their messy, you know, and I feel like, I think coming from the modeling world where girls would look at me going, you are so lucky. You had the best life possible. And I'm like, can I just tell you? Can I tell you? So I know what you're looking at this, the face, but let me tell you more about the messy, as you put it, and that we're exactly the same. We're exactly the same. I have my struggles and you have yours. And I think that is something that has driven me in a lot of ways is to connect to people in the messy, and to connect in a way that people assume one thing about me or my relationship, and to be like, no, actually we struggle just like you. We're just, or whatever it is, I just think that's sometimes really important to share.
That through line of craving honesty, it's beautiful. And I imagine so many younger girls might have dreamt of being a model like you. And then, of course, you're telling us you wanted to be a mother. And I also understand that you wanted to be an educator, a childhood educator. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that dream and how that played out for you.
Yeah, that was my two things whenever anyone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that was a mum and a preschool teacher. And the mum came first. And then when I was in America, my dream of becoming a preschool teacher came true as well. And it was everything I could have wanted and more. And it was absolutely delightful. I've just always, maybe it's because I have the mind of a 3-year-old, I don't know, but that age, that sort of that 2, 3, 4 age, oh my God, I just love them. I love them so much. I find the way they work, the way they think, the way they see the world is just utterly magic. And so getting to be a part of that was just such an honor, to be able to have, other people hand me their most precious possessions and saying, can you look after them from the age of, or from the time of 9 till 2 or whatever? And I'd be like, yes, I can. And I'm going to do my best. So it was just delightful. I don't know why I've always, and everyone knows who's known me for a long time. It's like, oh my God, all I talked about was being a mum and little kids. It's just it's all I wanted to be around. It's all I wanted to do as for work. It's just, still love them. Can't wait to be a grandma.
Great. And obviously there's so much going on for you personally in that journey as well, in nurturing little people, as you spoke to in your letter, not to spoil the letter that we'll hear today.
I feel like I want to interject as well to say that our sister, who adores you, is also a childhood educator. So she's only going to love you even more now. Yeah. You've got that. You've got quite a lot in common, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're heroes, they're just heroes. They have so much influence. You can make such an impact on a kid's life by being a good educator.
I have so many thoughts as you're speaking, like one being, my sister in mind and her entire cohort generation. Sorry, our sister. I guess maybe I just feel like she's more mine than yours. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. You feel like she is more your sister than mine.
I don't know why I keep saying
that
mine.
Works.
All right. From now on, I include you, our sister.
Definitely.
I was thinking that in terms of you as a leader, Ali, of that generation, who met you through Dolly and idolized you perhaps, but your desire for authenticity and sharing the messy and being real, now just going on that journey with people and, speaking honestly about menopause and all of that. It's just... what a refreshing thing to have someone who's willing to be that truthful. And hearing you talk about how insecure you felt, you definitely don't come across that way, because the willingness to share the messy comes across to me as someone who's quite secure and willing to be vulnerable, to not necessarily show their best self at all times. And, I could imagine someone who's come out of modeling emerging that way, that I need to present quote unquote perfectly all the time in order to be worthy. Yeah. You've gone the other way.
Yeah, I have. I have. Yeah, I
why?
think I don't, that's a good, why did I do that? Gosh, I just think it's a hard way to live in that facade. I think that's part of it. And I don't want to pretend like I have no cellulite and a muffin top. Like, I don't want to pretend like I just want people to know that so we can relate. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's just, it cuts through. And I think it's really helpful when people do that. But yeah, the opposite. I feel sorry for people that can't seem to break through that artifice, and they feel that need and pressure to present like everything's great. Because I just look at that and think, well, that's not true, is it, to the human experience? So there's something unhealthy there.
And I think about how, to me, that's exhausting as well. Like, to hold that all together, to present like everything's fine and dandy. I just think that must be, it's too exhausting to do. Can I share one thing that's really, when you were talking about, being honest and body image and talking honestly about menopause, that I've had this said to me quite a few times, and it is one of the most beautiful things that a woman can say is, I followed you as a young girl. I got my period with you when you were young, and now I'm going through menopause with you. And to span those two life cycles with women, and to be thanked for that just because I'm just there, is so unbelievably moving and meaningful to me, that I've somehow normalized menopause, but more so because I was the model. And that's where I wouldn't change that time of my life for anything, because of what it's given to me now in this experience.
That's great.
Been really wild.
And to that end, you talked about almost the imposter syndrome you had when you were younger, that, people see me a certain way, but I don't feel that way, which is a vulnerable, anxiety-provoking position to be in, the feeling like the ground could fall out or I'll be exposed. But these days, you sound like a more integrated person, that it's you are who you are, and you're happy to talk about that. Is it true that there's less of a feeling like people might see through you now?
Yeah, I still have a super sensitivity to people's comments and thoughts and judgments. I'm like, Instagram is just an absolute minefield for me when I have to post. I like having a panic attack every time. I don't have that ability to go, whatever people think of you, it's fine. I'm like, no. Like, one mean comment can bring me to my knees. But I have done a lot of therapy, and I've chosen to do that, and have and I'm in therapy now. I started again about 4 or 5 months ago, and very grateful to be in therapy, because I want to know myself better, and there's still things that I get stuck on and cause me pain that I want to understand more, so I can live the rest of my life without the shackles of that.
That is something that I wanted to talk to you about as well. Of course, having read your book, I've got a little bit of insight into some of the experiences you've had and the journey. But I was struck by how important you mentioned group therapy has been for you. Would you mind talking a little bit about your experience with group therapy and how it's helped you?
Yeah, I think it was, well, for me, at the bottom line is being witnessed, just being witnessed in whatever it was you were experiencing, in joy, in pain, and in a room full of people that were also there to understand themselves as well. So that collective experience of looking for self-healing was something that I really loved, loved that.
And through that process, is that sense of invisibility that you had as a young person, is that changing and evolving now?
Very much so. Yeah, it actually came back a lot when I moved back to Australia, because I had to leave all my friends and community behind. And 25 years away that's a long time to try to even pick up friendships from, that's a lot of growth time in friendships. I've been able to pick up with one of my high school buddies, lovely, lovely lady, which was really joyful to me. But a lot of those lonely feelings came raging to the top.
Isn't it fascinating?
When I moved back.
how the resonant frequencies from childhood can find their way into our adult life in unexpected ways at unexpected times.
Especially when you've had a location move like that.
Ugh.
You've grown so much in the time and you're back in the spotlight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And back to the source of all the loneliness as well, where it's like where it all began. And I'd been out of the spotlight for years and years and years in America. And I got back to Australia, and then all of a sudden the spotlight was upon me, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I felt really ashamed of aging and looking different. And I was going to disappoint all those people that remembered me from Dolly. And I was like, whoa, this is not good. This is not healthy. But I remember feeling all that self-consciousness, that people pleasing, that I've got to look like something else and be something else, or else I'm going to be judged again. It was just all came falling from the sky again. So, but having now in a business with the menopause and my work, and I was still being in the public eye a little bit, but just creating a business through menopause is really, that's helped enormously to feel that my self-worth is no longer wrapped up in how I looked, because that's what I thought was the only thing that I had self-worth about, was as long as I looked pretty, then I could be liked. And then what happens when pretty disappears, so.
Yeah, perhaps this is a good moment for you to tell us what menopause has meant to you, because reading the book, it really felt like a renewal, I think you described it as a metamorphosis, like you've used this moment in your life for real self-reflection and empowerment. It might not be the first thing that people would assume someone going through menopause would experience. So, yeah, can you tell us and our listeners a little bit about what this journey has meant for you and what message you want to share with people?
Yeah, well, I had pretty much every symptom under the sun when it came to menopause. It hit me so hard, and there was so many layers around that I just was so confused by the fact I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know anything about what this perimenopause was, that it took me to just the absolute depths of mental health that I'd never been to before. I thought my marriage was over. And at the same time, there was this other part of myself, and that's the only way I can describe it, that was kind of going, all right, Ali, what are you going to do with this? You're not going to, this can't take you down. What is happening here? And it was, I think, whether that's my personality or having done therapy, I was like, I have to believe that this doesn't just happen for fun or for yucks. The universe, whoever, God, is not just gone, you know what, women, you're just gonna you're gonna get fat and ugly and get real hot and never want sex again, and just for fun. There has to be more to it. And that's what I really wanted to explore in the book and in myself as well. What is there more? What is there more to this? Why is this happening?
So it's a philosophical question.
Yeah. It happens to every woman. So there's got to be a biological, physiological, spiritual reason why women go through this. I couldn't believe it was just for, let's have a bit more pain and that's it. So, and that really caused me to look at myself as a female, as a woman, what my story was, what had led me to the place that I was at, and where did I then want to go, and what did I want to discover about myself. And that's what menopause really gave me. That's what got me back into therapy, and understanding those places also that had been hurt and unlooked at and uncared for so many years. That's menopause took me to that place and went, yeah, it's time.
And I think you described it as a second adolescence of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's just, getting to be, I guess, your own parent, getting to I finally understood what self-care was. I never understood it. I did not. It was a concept I'd heard over and over and over again, did not understand it. And it was the first time that I went, oh, so I ask myself what I need first before I ask everybody else. Okay. And no one loses out, because I'm also asking them after I ask myself. But I'm asking myself first what I need. Holy crap. Like,
yeah, we never stop learning,
that's
right?
a new concept. Yeah.
But what about the
100%.
concept of invisibility that you've already spoken about? Of course, you hear a lot of women talk about the fact that going through menopause can cause them to feel more invisible. Has that tapped into that insecurity and longing from childhood?
Yeah, the invisibility factor is it's a funny one. Like I like, would I want to be noticed again like I was when I was 20? No, I actually wouldn't. I would not take that. I wouldn't go back there. Yeah.
Yeah, looking for something richer than that.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very much so. Like, nothing delights me more when, in a business meeting or something, and I give my opinion, and it's like, that's really good. Like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, okay. That gets me excited.
And can you tell us a bit about your work with Rise Up? Because I was really interested in reading about that too, because that sounds really profound and powerful stuff. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so they're actually a Queensland-based charity. Mind you, they are now all across Australia and New Zealand, and they assist vulnerable women and children who have escaped domestic violence, and they create a safe home for them. Those women who've been in shelters, anonymously living for however long, they are taken to a home that is then their home. They don't own the home, but the home is being paid for, government funded and Rise Up funded, and everything in that home is now theirs. That the apartment, house, whatever it is, it's decorated. There is food in the cupboard. There is milk in the fridge. There are fresh flowers. There's toothbrushes, underwear, soaps, dental floss. There's toys for the kids. There's sheets on the bed. And it is theirs to live in for however long they need it for. If they want it for 30 years, if they want it for 3 days, it is their safe place to come home to.
And you've been boots on the ground going in to help set up these houses.
I have.
Tell us a bit about that experience. What's that like?
Oh my God. It's so unbelievably meaningful. The first home that I did was a home up in Queensland. I was working in the kids' room. There was a little boy that was going to be coming in. I think he was about 5. And literally, as I'm making his bed and putting the toys on his bed, I knew that this little kid was coming in a couple of hours. We never meet the people, the domestic. We never meet them because you never want them to feel ashamed or embarrassed if you bumped into them in the street or something. So that keeps their dignity. But like, to think I was putting like a little toy truck beside the bed and a little stuffed toy for this kid, that like, this was so poignant to me, because like, his life is about to be so much better, and this is going to be a turning point for him. So just incredibly meaningful what they do.
That's incredibly powerful work, and it speaks to your heart and I guess mission, in a sense, of nurturing kids and providing a safe space for them and helping them feel loved and wanted. It's beautiful. It's a fulfillment of your dream to look after children.
It is.
And I suppose we'd be remiss not to talk about your experience as a mother as well, your other childhood dream that's come true.
Yes.
I did just listen to a wonderful interview that you did with your daughter Lotus. You had her on your podcast, and that just your amazing relationship was just shining through in that, and your connection. So not a surprise, but beautiful to hear. But please tell us a little bit about your experience as a mother and what that's been like.
Yeah, it has been, oh my God, the best, and continues to be the best thing that I could ever experience. I would have been a mother no matter what, whether I had a husband, whether I was infertile, I would have been a mum. So whether, through adoption, whatever it took, that was going to be, I was not going to die without becoming a mum. I knew that. And I loved every second of it. I loved being pregnant. I found the whole being pregnant was miraculous. The days after, like, I was saying to my husband, I'm like, I don't ever remember having those days of going, get me out of here, or like, I'm done, or I don't remember a single day of mothering like that. It was just, of course I hit the wall, and of course I got tired, and of course I got frustrated. But all I really remember is through it all is just total and utter lifelong joy-filled, dream-fulfilled, amazing experiences. And they're just incredible humans. I love them.
How beautiful that you've been able to create, like as per your determination from even when you were young, to create that home and give them that love and, create a home full of joy. That was something that you missed out on. That's really lovely to hear.
Yeah, it's so, and maybe it's, sometimes I wonder if it was selfish that I was having my own healing experience with my kids, but I loved creating a joyful home. I loved creating traditions. I never had a tradition ever growing up. We had nothing. And, we've still got the same traditions around Easter and Christmas morning. And
it's very special.
Like, it's just, I become like a little kid again, strangely enough. And I know that, it's normal for them, but just to be able to know that I've done what I really wanted with the kids is
it's very
really
special.
lovely.
Ali, you've been so generous with your time, but I'm aware we have to let you go soon. But I ask this of every single person we speak to. What is it like for you? And I know it's a complicated question, given that childhood you've described, but what's it like for you to think back to little Ali and spend some time reflecting on her again?
I think what I'm sort of attempting to do a little bit more of these days when I think back to little Ali is to imagine myself holding her real close and protecting her and, taking her out of situations that she shouldn't have been in. So I feel like there was, I do think I came into this world with a sparkle, and and that sparkle certainly went out, but it didn't disappear. I think it just got buried somewhere. And so I'm still working on bringing that little girl sparkle out when I can. But I think I just admire the resilience of, myself and kids as well in general. But, there's been many a tear shed as well, thinking back to little Ali. But I think, just spending some time back there sometimes and giving her a big hug really helps.
Well, thank you for doing that today. The sparkle is well and truly alive. And thanks for sharing your heart with us and your story. I mean, you're such a great storyteller and such a great leader, I think, to so many. So thank you.
Oh, it's very kind. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
All right, Nick, there was a lot in that conversation, but mostly I was struck by Ali's heart and her willingness to share something that felt really real with us. She's really good at that.
Such a natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could tell it was hard for her. You know, I think it's hard for any of us, right? Thinking back to our childhood and going to that place and being that honest. Yeah, it's emotionally taxing, but just so rewarding and so generous of her to share like she did.
Yeah, it is not easy. It's definitely not easy to think back and talk about a childhood that was difficult. But I think she does it with grace and she's just a great example of someone willing to tell the truth and try and do that as honestly as she can, which is not easy. It's the contrast with Ali that really strikes me that, you know, she started her career, her public-facing career, you know, on the cover of magazines as someone that was idolized, just unquestionably beautiful. And she spoke about the fact that, you know, everyone would say, I just wish I looked like you. But that really hurt her and was something that she found really difficult. And there's something really telling in that, you know, about, I guess, our cultural pressure, our unending cultural pressure to be beautiful, powerful, successful, and that somehow equates to health and happiness. It's just not true for Ali. That wasn't it.
No. And that it has to be an internal message, not an external message. Doesn't matter if you're on the cover of the magazines. If you haven't grown up feeling like you're beautiful or getting that love and nourishment from the people that you need it from most, you're not going to believe it. If the whole world tells you you're the epitome of beauty, you're not going to believe it.
It's just very hard to get away from that cultural messaging because it's been so endemic in our culture. It's everywhere all the time. And I think perhaps women, you know, struggle with it even more, like just the pressure, you know, around their body image, etc. But yeah, hearing Ali's story is just one of those, I mean, it's one of many stories, to be perfectly honest, of people saying, I don't feel like what people tell me I am. And, you know, thinking about why is quite interesting in Ali's case, isn't it? And where the genesis of that is. And
self-perception.
Yeah. And of course, you know, we got a revealing look at that in terms of her childhood and what she went through. What struck you most about that?
Well, of course, it was the isolation, you know, thinking back to a child on her own a lot of the time. And I thought I love the word used before, grace, because I think she was so graceful in the way she approached it. And I think it came across really clearly. I also know it even more from having read her book. She loves her parents so much. She really does. And she's come to a place of understanding. And I just thought the way that she handled reflecting on the things that were missing gracefully was really important and impactful today. But what hit me most was the fact that she was alone a lot of the time and that she needed some things that were not provided for her. And I think she just spoke about that with just... the emotion was just simmering there through the whole conversation, and I just felt very sorry for the little Ali.
Me too. Yeah, it was quite sad hearing that. And it just emphasizes what we know, that kids need to feel safe. They need to feel loved. It's the fundamental that we all have. And look, sometimes for a variety of reasons, parents struggle to provide that. But when they can't, there is a cost. And in Ali's case, I think we can think about the schemas that developed, those rules that were internalized at a young age that led to that people-pleasing trait that she spoke about today. That sense of, I'm not good enough on my own. I need to please you and do what you want in order to provide that safety and structure and the knowledge that I won't be abandoned.
Yeah. And I don't mean to jump ahead here, but the other thing that really hit me from this conversation is, of course, the direct link between someone who is a people pleaser, who is scanning everyone to try and work out, how do I gain your approval? How do I gain your attention? How do I fit in here? Led to the most amazing emotional intelligence, led to the most amazing insights on how everyone operates. That kind of, I mean, that's the genesis of the emotionally intelligent, beautiful woman that she is, who's able to do all the work she did. I mean, it's a very direct link back to those difficulties.
Well, it could have gone a different way, couldn't it? Because of the adulation she received, I could imagine an alternate pathway where Ali became addicted to the adulation and addicted to the praise that comes from, you know, you look great and therefore are great. That never clicked for her. She needed something more authentic than that, and is quite a leader now, I think, in just being honest. It's so refreshing and not easy. Like you can't take that for granted. There's a vulnerability that she has in her public persona. That's just, it's really appealing because it feels really true.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest insights that she's sharing at the moment is actually needing to turn that authenticity and honesty to herself. And the way that she's used menopause and the stages that she's in for self-empowerment and for self-knowledge. Like she's really turned inwards, and as a chronic people pleaser her whole life, she's always been of service. She's always put other people's needs first, which is a beautiful thing to do, and creates such love around you. But yeah, turning that inwards and kind of looking at self-discovery, self-mastery, self-love, self-compassion. Yeah, a beautiful message to share, and you can see why she's so admired, and I feel like a real leader in that space.
And finding her assertiveness and the value of her voice and the ability to speak up for herself has been quite the journey from the sounds of things, which is wonderful. And I also there's just not a lot of ego that comes across from Ali. And again, I think that's something that certainly could have been born from all of that public success and the magazine kind of life that she was living. But she's really humble, at least, it comes across that way, which is, again, really refreshing, I think, and quite a lovely example to the people that are following her. I also love the generational track, like that, people like our sister, I got it right that time.
Thank you.
Who grew up idolizing Ali in the magazines, is now, sorry to out you, Lise, but going through menopause probably herself, and, and can look to Ali as an example and leader in that space, and someone who can provide comfort in creating community through authenticity.
Totally. And she's such a perfect person for that, partly because she was so well known at a time, mid-80s. People are so nostalgic for that time. She's in the cover of these magazines that were, people absolutely loved those. So yeah, she's a figure that reminds them of that innocent and trouble-free period, perhaps. And so to be going through with her now as a leader, awesome.
She was also clearly keen not to tie everything up neatly in a bow and to tell us the work's ongoing, the scars from childhood haven't fully healed, and she's doing the work. She's trying really hard and is in therapy again, and it is a lifelong process. And I think we need to be realistic with therapy, that you can definitely make some fantastic gains and learn a lot and develop new habits, but it doesn't delete what you've gone through, and the experiences of childhood do stay with us. So it's a balancing act, and there's acceptance involved, and I guess an acknowledgement of our impulses and habits and awareness of them.
No, well said. How much of a connection do you think there is between, what am I trying to say here? So Ali she comes across as so content, so measured, and so comfortable. And then we're hearing that her childhood dreams were to become a mother and to work with kids. So with all of the story of fame, with all the story of loneliness and some difficulties, many difficulties along the way, we do also have a story of someone that just fulfilled their lifelong dream, their childhood dream.
Yeah. But in spite of her upbringing, and I don't think she would, say that in any way she's happy with the fact that her childhood was quite sad and lonely. But yes, she has absolutely followed her passions and lived according to her values. And I think you can see that, the way that's creating someone who feels like they're living an authentic, full life.
Yeah.
And the compassion bit too, I don't think we can ignore that. Like the value of loving people and, through her charitable work, like with Rise Up, that's really emotional in a positive way, the way that she is just at the ground level helping love people and help them feel connected, and that they are young people, in need of love like she was. That's that kind of reparenting work I think she's doing at a pretty deep level.
Yeah, that it was just always going to happen, wasn't it? Those values of compassion were built into her childhood dream. Being a mother, loving kids, helping kids that need it. Yeah.
What a great episode, if I may say so. Sorry to talk up our podcast so much.
Well,
but
thanks to Ali, yes. Really an ideal guest, I think.
Yeah.
And we knew it. We knew it as soon as we spoke to her on her podcast. Yeah, getting people on with amazing stories, but who also just are so insightful.
Yeah.
And have wisdom to share. We love it.
And we do. Nick, thank you. It's a pleasure doing this with you. And yeah, I'll look forward to the next one.
Likewise. See ya.
So this is a letter to myself. I'm pretty small at this age. I think I'm about 3 or 4. And this is kind of Big Ali talking to little Ali and all the things that little Ali would have loved to have heard. I would love to sit near you because I love you and I want to be around you. How are you feeling? How was school? Tell me more about your day. I'm so interested to know. What are you drawing? You're so clever. I'm sticking this picture on the fridge. Let's do some drawing together. You seem a little sad. Can you tell me what's going on? Come and sit on my lap, choose a book, and I'll read it to you. I have something so fun planned for you. Who else shall we ask to come with us? Come cook with me in the kitchen. I love it when we spend time together. Tell me what you think about this. Your opinion is so important. You will see me at school for your play, your dance concert, your athletics carnival, your school fete. I will be there because I love you. It sounds like you're really hurt. What can I do? How can I help you right now? Let's go have some fun.
You're a Good Kid is produced by Nick and James Van Kuylenberg, recorded at Whitehouse Sound in Melbourne, Australia, with artwork by Dirty Puppet.
We acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast was recorded, and recognise their continuing connection to lands, waters and community.
We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures, and to the elders past, present and emerging.
If anything in this podcast has raised concerns related to mental health, please contact your health professional, or if urgent, call Lifeline on 13 11 14.